Shri Ye Soha. O Namo Manjo Shri Ye, Namo So Shri Ye, Namo O Dhamma Shri Ye Soha. O Namo Manjo Shri Ye, Namo So Shri Ye, Namo O Dhamma Shri Ye Soha. Jino Jogi Jona La, Janjo Badu Dandi Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunyen Kibe Sonangi, Jola Benje Sangi Ruba Sho. Chedang Ge Chona La, Janjo Badu Dandi Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunyen Kibe Sonangi, Jola Benje Sangi Ruba Sho. Chedang Jogi Chona La, Janjo Badu Dandi Gyasu Chi, Dagi Chunyen Kibe Sonangi, Jola Benje Sangi Ruba Sho. Peki Joshi Metora, Rira Lixi Nide Kembadi, Sange Shindo Mite Ruai, Joke Nanda Shila Cheba, Jo, Idan, Kurura Namendala Kandi Adaya. All sentient beings have been my mother, and they have been my mother for numberless times. They are as kind as my mothers in this life. All kind mother sentient beings, though they want happiness and do not want even a small suffering. However, due to engaging wrongly with the objects of abandonment and adoption, they only experience suffering. Sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings by thinking how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings had excellent happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we sincerely generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking how nice it would be if the body of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as pain, sickness, and harm caused by the four elements. May the body of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the body of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as fear, anxiety, coarse and subtle conceptual thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Negative speech such as lying and telling harsh words. May the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. In brief, how nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class that is discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from suffering and its cause. May all mother sentient beings be free from suffering and its cause. I will free all mother sentient beings from sufferings and its cause. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate bodhicitta first by asking ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. However, I do not have the ability to do so now. Who has the ability? Only those who have achieved the perfect complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind. The conventional aspiring bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve enlightenment. These transform into a perfect white mundis at one's heart. The ultimate bodhicitta that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent existence, that transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness, that I exist neither intrinsically one with nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically.
那第一就是我是南极学啊，南西我甚至给想我可能就对吧？呢，那就是说拍摄这个镜头那些，就对吧？呢，当然是你把全部，这些全部修起来，就是想就是那就基本能力做点的。你身上，就是你了年上过是前比告诉，讲的我甚至给一招肯定就稍微有呢，特别很升级的，已经就的对的这等这个去的话，你是把公司的不行的就对吧？呢，第二个是拍摄。已经拍摄原来所有的是人把晓得我是公司嘛，要不就把那个人把是做的时候。
As I always mention, it is important to conjoin our virtue with the practice of 6 perfections. The first is generosity. Generosity is mainly a mind of giving. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, whatever roots of virtue that I accumulate through my 3 doors, I give it to all sentient beings.
实际上在我说，我先把那个搞了部分另外的年纪人我先讲的多的。实际上的我先把说的，当我说就是那个年上过是级别告诉另外的年轻人把所有的马就我头发是经历也啥的人吧，我等于是全把人呢，这就把人拿来生活的意思。
The second one is morality. Morality is mainly a mind of abandoning. What does it abandon? It abandons the physical and verbal misdeeds. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will properly abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest.
第一就是我是随便讲的，年上过是前边个是70年个了，看到你现在刚刚开始学完了，对的，东西的糖都练多吧。我说随便说的，当然就是把东西当然就是把缺了年岁就随便是的，我就都是我话，我对的，你现在刚刚前边个是特别糖都练多吧，没注意生活生活话，随便说真的，我对的全部呢都随便讲的生活的事。
Third one is patience, and patience is an undisturbed mind. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, whatever physical or mental hardship occurs, I will willingly accept it. I will embrace it.
第一就是我说，年上过是前边告诉我说，真的是拍新娘的生吧啦，真的了，有了对生吧是我这个真的是有我的，真是不会的。等于说我是别个说。针对的我是基本700个，针对生活当中基本700个针对的，有多的生计级电下去生意不多，有多的生计级电下去生意不多，他讲的年上过是基本个是被生高的多，针对生计电下去生意不多，你就为呢，真的是发现人的生活的是。
And the fourth one is joyous effort, and joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. So, and the joyous effort, the kind of joyous effort that we need to generate is the Mahayana type of joyous effort. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will take delight in accomplishing virtue and working for the welfare of sentient beings.
第一就是上帝发现生吧了。上帝说的我是谁给你把扛住自己的念法就过来，谁的？我说的，就是那个人了，本来上过是基本个是谁的，弄到的那样的嘛是嘛，谁的呗？我说人家这个就是那个人了呗，给小了把念头过去，你就把人呢，我说上帝就发现人的生活的事。
The fifth one is meditative concentration. And it is a mind that single-pointedly abides on any of the virtuous objects. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the virtuous object and not get distracted by coarse and subtle conceptual thoughts.
他写的就把新娘的生活的，我写的时候的，确实那么就写的生活，确实那么就弄。你老的我说，他确实那个人了，看他。年上过是结巴了，偏要把它年上过是马进呢，那里面就是写不就不过是吧？是写不的，不要吹的吹的我是继续的吹的说的也来把写都把修完了，
The last one is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will properly understand the inconceivable benefits of doing so and the faults of not doing so. And also, I will properly understand the words and meaning of the teaching and the object of abandonment and adoption. Set good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve enlightenment. For this, I will properly listen to the commentary on the holy teaching, Sutra, and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Oh yeah, thank you. That was the Sharon Bokana. So, the thing was the late Saboa, late Pumbong about the junction. Tomanaba, Tomanaba, Yanta, just so Toman, Sumani, Suji Maino said. The Casidilma, Dora, the Santua.
The Google, I guess.
Oh, Pumbong about the Jungs, Tomanaba, Yanta, just Tao, was it? I'm not in the deal, that lane to think the thing later. But the match with the Jewish, that's okay.
So previously we talked about the answer, the brief answer, and the brief answer is they should correctly view those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent existence. So this is the brief answer. And then the extensive answer starts from form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness.
That dictated the Hasidic that was a Pumbong about the other Jangs or Janga Digi, Dashi Pumbola, touching her. So touching her to the Rangiji, Maduba Mazino, touching her the Rangi to Mazit, the Pumbong about the other Rangi to Maris, or Rangi to Maris, and that is she would.
So, and previously we also explained about this short answer. They should correctly view those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent existence. So, not only is the I empty of inherent existence, 5 aggregates also empty of inherent existence. So this is the meaning of this short answer. So not only is the I empty of inherent existence, also the 5 aggregates are empty of inherent existence. So this is the explanation for this short answer. Yeah, so for the extensive answer, it starts from form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness.
Solana, Jona, Tona, Gona, Molona, the Solar Rimba, the logos, that the Solar Rimba, the country logo is that loss of deception that it, not on the Diana logo, or dealer to what that it, Solana, Jona, Tona, Golam, or Danicasia, that country logo, the Lord Malona told simply just the country is not to do the deal, that to do the deal. The dilemma lawyer that come over the that to someone to take the decision.
Langa la and lab goro.
Langa, the Lord to have to know that Langa can you look yes, that it to what the deal was.
So the questions the question is all about those who wish to achieve the state of enlightenment, those who have interest in achieving the state of enlightenment. So in order to achieve the state of enlightenment, how should they train on the 5 paths? The 5 paths are path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of no more learning. So the main question is about how those who wish to practice, how those who wish to achieve the state of enlightenment, those who have interest in achieving the state of enlightenment, how do they train on 5 paths? So the answer talks about how one trains on the 5 paths, and the brief answer, they should correctly view those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent existence. So this talks about how to train on the path of accumulations and path of preparation. Yeah, so in order to understand how to train on the 5 paths, then one should have at least an understanding of what 5 paths is. So to give a brief explanations on the 5 paths, so I will explain it from the from the explanations on the words. So I will to give the etymological explanations on 5 paths. And the first one is path of accumulation, right? So path of accumulation is in order to achieve the liberations. So in this case is in the Mahayana context, right? So liberations here refers to the Mahayana Nirvana, or in other words, non-abiding Nirvana. So this is the liberations here refers to. And in order to achieve such liberations, the beginning of the path to achieve accumulate collections. So the beginning of the path to accumulate collections for achieving liberations, and liberations here refers to a Mahayana Nirvana or a non-abiding Nirvana. So this is the etymological explanations on the word path of accumulation. Yeah, so this path of accumulations, and it is related to I say in the beginning, at the beginning of the sessions, we also talked about during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, right? So these listening, contemplations, and meditations, so which we always talked about. So the during the on the path of accumulation, what we should do, what we should predominantly do is listening and contemplation. So previously, I also mentioned about regarding this listening, contemplation, and meditations on Dharma, right? So first is to listen to the Dharma, and then we develop wisdom and reason from listening. Then we contemplate. Then we develop wisdom and reason from contemplation, and we meditate, and we develop a wisdom and reason from meditation. So on the path of accumulation, what we should do is, because our purpose is to achieve the Mahayana Nirvana or the non-abiding Nirvana, right? So in order to achieve this non-abiding Nirvana, then we must realize the meaning of the profound emptiness. And in order to realize the meaning of the profound emptiness, the 2 things that we should predominantly do is listening and contemplation.
That is what the teacher Jonah said. That teacher Jonah, Jonah, she give you that Dembang was to Joyous Effort. So the Dembang was to teach it and the social change. Jonas, Demba point teach the Joan Bessie shoot out niggas. Dembang was to teach it. Or teach it, that on the Joa, she be chanting Jonas.
And the second path is path of preparation. So Mahayana path of preparations is when one is on this path of preparations, then one should put effort in training. One should put effort in seeing directly the meaning of emptiness, or should put effort in directly seeing the truth. Yeah. So this is this is the time. Sorry, this is the path where one put effort in seeing the truth directly.
당어서 전화기 내가서 간다. 돈이 녀수도 또 두고만 되냐. 돈이라면 공주로 터디래. 전화기 내가서. 야, 돈이 녀수도 또 두고만 돈이라면 공주로 터디래. 소나지 내가서 가서 돈이라면 공주로 또 두고만 와. 소나지 내가서 다 메신저에 들어와. 뒤지 소나지 내가서 가서 돈이라면 공주로 또 두고만 되냐. 다 전화기 내가서 돈이라면 공주로 터디야 되냐. 다 돈이 녀수도 통화 대치는 메신저다. 소 와, 뭐든지
돈이 라미베 공중기로 대 토바로 와.
토디.
조랑 가수. 조랑이 가수. 얘네 다 은숭도 대 또하기.
은숭도 또 대체 와.
Yeah. So on the path of accumulation, we haven't achieved the thought reason from we haven't achieved the thought reason from meditation focusing on emptiness. So on the path of accumulations, we haven't obtained or achieved the thought a reason from meditation focusing on the meaning of focusing on emptiness. At that point, we haven't achieved. So when we come to path of preparations, we have already achieved the thought a reason from meditations focusing on emptiness. However, at the point of, so when we are on the path of preparations, we haven't achieved as a direct realizations of emptiness. So in order to achieve that, then we put effort in achieving that.
That is somebody teaches Tonarwa. That teaches Tonatilla, Tona Gibi Junset. That gets a cousin. That Dembang was to start to point negative. That teaches Tona, Toba, the Tony was to Toba Tinyam. Roa. Teaches Tona, Toba, the company turn was to Toba Tinyam. Not to Jonah Tama, Jonathan, Jesushira, Jesumus, Shile with the Chincho cousin, Jesumus, Chincho, Chincho has a company like Yamba Shadir, Jonah has a company like Yamba Shah, the Tony and Yamba Shani, only nurse the Kadi Tobaina, the Tonatoni. Jonah, Tonadia, Sakomalia, Podi, Namshak Tony, Namshak Tony. Jonah Chincho, Jonah, Jesushino, Shinola, Hama the Chincho, Shadire. 다 친구 가서 동반이나 찌기는 양바샤데 양바샤 로디야 공패 로디야 종네 로종 가서 로디 배 동반이 되면서는 통받았다 간다 토마토로 어떤 토마토 가서 간다 동반이 되면서 또 받이냐래
근데注意落地样냠샤기 나네 냠샤기 나로라 나네
냠샤기야
근데 뭐야
동반에 용어 친구 동반이 냠바샤 신병을 로디야 이거 휴철레오레 동반이 되면서 또 무슨 돈이 또 토마토로
Yeah. So the next one is Mahayana path of seeing. So Mahayana, one achieved path of seeing simultaneously with when one directly and newly realizes the meaning of emptiness, or directly or and newly realizes the truth. So achieving Mahayana path of seeing is achieving Mahayana path of seeing and directly newly realizing the truth is at the same time. So when you achieve the path when you newly directly realizing emptiness, then at the same time you achieve the path of seeing. So when from the path of preparations, so path of preparations, there are 4 stages. One is heat. The second stage is peak, and the third one is patience or forbearance, and the fourth one is the supreme dharma. Supreme dharma. So one transfer from the supreme dharma, the state of supreme dharma on the path of preparations, to path of seeing in the state of meditative equipoise. So on the path of preparations, the stage of supreme dharma, one set in meditative equipoise on emptiness. So while in the meditative equipoise, whenever one directly see the truth or directly realize emptiness, then that is the time one is transferred from the path of preparations to path of seeing.
다 디지스 숨바 가서 디지지 고난이들 와. 다 디지지 고난 희지비 준세를 가지나. 다 고난에 가서 담에 무슨 오는 것은 또 신. 다 주제도 공부하시바. 다 고난스나 공리티야 와. 다 돈인 것은 또 사러 와. 가서 돈하니까 또 사러 와. 다 또 자리 양자 퇴당 것은 또 와게요 말다. 고난 가서. 다 또 사래 되려 양자 공부하진 로디에 니바치를 야서야 돼. 니바치를 당아서 고난에 다 간다 사니바네 사주바보다 다 창사 간다 고나래. 사니바네 사주바보다 창사 고나래. 돈인에서 또 산들이야 림바지도 공부하지네. 뜻사 방법에 주바바디야. 림바지도 와서 ponja서 pon야 림바 요래다. 비수다 지역이 있어야 맞지마. 맞아 실 맞으러와. 덴디지네 다 고나 가서 간다야. 돈인에서 돈이 로디야 니바 슈체리야 공배다래. 사 니바니야 도시 공배다네 다 숨바 시바 나바 네가 쭈바바다 간다 도서 다 디지 전주 토야지 다 로디야 공배도네 때 pon자 히리 솔마 림바기도 파리 고자래. 어때 술파 같이 자야지. 덴디지네 다 고나 가서 다 간다 덴방에서 통시다 다 통시 양양한테 고바지야 돼. 로디 니바치였어요.
응은진도 또 심바데
또 심바
야양데
다 야양 보는 거 니바치고 소고라 니바치고 맞으냐 ponja서 차라도서 거셔지. 다리를 같이 자라 니바 대가지 이려고.
방자 갑디네 디시지로.
다 pon자 디시지다 니링도 요게 요래. 다 디시 사지바 맞아봐. 다시 요러와.
간다디 차라.
다디 차라 수시에는 마부 쉬우래. 다시 디세요 말다.
So the next one is path of meditations, and path of meditations starts from the second ground onwards up to 10th ground. So path of meditation covers from the second ground up to and including 10th ground. So what we should do when we are on the path of meditations is to meditate again and again on the emptiness which has been already realized. So we meditate again and again on emptiness that which we have already realized. So in order to make the strength of our mind to become greater and greater. So the purpose of making the power of our mind greater and greater, so that we can abandon the objects of obscurations. So object of obscurations is divided in terms of its subtlety. So some objects of abandonment is coarse, and some objects of abandonment is subtle. So this object of abandonment is divided in terms of its subtlety. Then one gradually abandon those objects of abandonment. And the last path is path of no more learning. Why is it called path of no more learning? So, and this path of no more no, because di milola mina di teaching kita cuma di campus segi orang. Di campus di milola ro. Di campus di la milola si jebi junsi karya ta junsi de chachi ji sinje na ji chacha yuesu chaba da hidi da nedi pang na ni bi junsi de kanda milola si jeba reso. And path of no more learning is an exalted knower of Mahayana Arhat, or Mahayana foe destroyer. So Jajumba is Arhat, right? So Jajumba is Arhat. Teaching Jajumba, so it's Mahayana Arhat. So it's the exalted knower of Mahayana Arhat. And this Mahayana Arhat refers to Buddha. So when we are on the path of no more learning, then one becomes an object worthy of homage by those with attachment. And it is the path that abandons the two obscurations. So this is the brief explanations on path and ground. And what I explained just now was the 5 paths of Mahayana, or Mahayana 5 paths. So besides Mahayana 5 paths, there are other 5 paths as well. 5 paths of hearers and 5 paths of solitary realizers. And this makes is a total of 15 paths. So, and when we talk about grounds, like first ground, second ground, etc., after 10 grounds, so as grounds only exist in the Mahayana 5 paths. This ground is not mentioned, or it doesn't exist in the hearer and solitary realizers 5 paths. Grounds like first ground, second ground, it doesn't exist in path of 5 paths of hearers and solitary realizers.
Quick question. Since we are going to move on, perhaps, the path of meditation, Geshe-la said, is from second ground to the 10th ground, but we always talk about 10 grounds in the path of meditation. Could Geshe-la please elaborate before we move on? Thanks.
It always talks about 10 grounds in the path of meditation.
That's right. Isn't it?
I mean, path of meditation itself got 10 grounds, is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, you can check with Geshe-la, right? So maybe Geshe-la had a different presentation, no? Just to elaborate, because we talk about 10 grounds, and yet we talk about path of meditation starting from the second ground. It's under path of meditation. So please elaborate. Thanks.
Yeah. So, 공기 좋아해 나디 아주 공람디요라 공람이 나디 산이와 내주와 파도라이잖아. 근데 아주 남주인의 사주주의 시기요라. 근데 안디 그래서 사주의 시야디야 가와요리사. 이바 내주와 파도의 공람리. 근데 디 당보이나?
사당보 통라요.
당보대 통라브라.
당보 통라요.
당보인의 디 그래서 공람기 값수디 고주야 말아. 디요 말아.
디요 말아. 다 산님바디야 사당보 통라가 사당보 기치시고라. 사당보 때 니바 소바시바 두스리 바스리스고. 당보 토마토는 가서 통라마서 통라게 더요. 뭐니가서.
So first, when we always talk about 10 grounds, right? And second grounds and up to 10 grounds is on a path of meditations, and the first ground is on path of seeing.
Is that right, or is that a overlap between path of meditation and path of seeing? Can we say that the path of seeing is purely the first ground? Then why do you need a path of seeing? Why don't we just skip the path of seeing and say path of preparation to path of meditation? I mean, just to play the devil advocate, right?
Path of seeing, then how's it? First, path of seeing and 10 grounds is at the same time, right? Achieve at the same time. So now you're saying that since I don't get your.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think there's some overlap between path of seeing and path of meditation first ground, but it's not exactly the same, right?
Oh, you're saying that the first ground, from the path of seeing then up to path of meditations, also on the path of meditation itself also got a little bit of first ground in it. Is that what you mean?
I'm saying is the first ground exactly the same as the path of seeing, because if I understand correctly, what Geshe-la is saying is that the path of seeing is the first ground, right? Am I right to say that? Is my understanding correct? What Geshe-la has just said?
Yeah, achieving the path of seeing and achieving first ground is at the same time.
It's the same time.
Is at the same time achieving. Yeah. So when one directly newly realizes emptiness, one at the same time one also achieve path of seeing. At the same time, one achieve the first ground.
Okay, then I mean Buddhism is very precise, right? So why do we need a first ground on the path of meditation? Why don't we just start with the first ground, what is supposed to be the second ground as the first ground, and have 9 grounds instead of 10 grounds? Why do we have separate thing if it is exactly the same?
그래서 통람디 토야디라 통연당 사탕보디 토야디 뒤지라 이제라 가리지네 안디 가서 안디 니디 시고베 김센디 가리나스 민 로가리오라 사탕보 토야다 아니 대양 통람 토야다 아니 딩고니 지나 대양 가서 안디 사탕보 대양 원디디 그래서 디 시야용 시고 말와 카투이네 디사 주이네 디 시고 말에 사 고시나 디로 니 가자디 공람디 고주야.
If it is exactly the same, no? If it is exactly the same.
그 지나 사당보게 덴디케제 시바마 사당보 니바 손바지바 가서 랑아시고로 랑아가 림바로 당시고로 당보 손나 터버리 데이제스 용나 터버리 데이제스 손나 터버리 데이제스 내 고나 물어나 림바지 노고로 랑아여로 다 사당보 집어서 사당보 터버라 사당보에 서 그랬어 사 담보 토르디 간다 토랑 토르 거랬어. 토나 대방을 수는 토나 세워다 가서 대방을 수는 토이 가지 임바스나 토나서 놓고 그랬어. 이슈 임바. 사 담보 토리 때 대방을 수는 토는 거야.
내가 제장의 공기 저랑 대니 집어지게이나 사 담보 토바다 동남 토바데 집어지게이나 내 말이니 사 담보데 시월에
사 담보데 토리 토나 토고 그랬으면 세르마다 사 담보 간가 토나 간다데 돈링에서 또 비셔로 말아. 사 담보 강가는 오닝을 숨도 비셔로 말해. 사 담보 토마 토비네가 토나 오닝을 숨도 비셔래. 오닝 냥바셔비 난돌라. 오닝 냥바셔비 바치면아. 나샤바 나샤 이시래. 사 담보 토비네까지 토나 저러와. 네 토나 나샤 이시래.
사 담보데
사 담보 토마 토비 동방을 숨도 토마 토기 저러와. 근데 토나데 나샤 이시래면 내사 담보라 나샤 이시다 제토 이시다 망보여. 라마나 망보여. 담보 토비가는 대방에서 통 담보 토비가는 냥샤이지 우리는 냥바시듯이
냥샤이시랑 디시요 마도 가서 지수 가서 디
제토라 샹아 제토라 레요 제토라 제는 왜 했다
디 가서 디 통남 바지 밀랑래
통남 바지 밀랑
통남 바지 밀랑
통남 바지
담보 토마 토에디 통남 바지 밀랑 야, 지상이 디양 시고의 경쟁요.
사고 담보니 봐서 내가 시고라.
시사니. 사 담보야 니가.
사 담보 토나 무슨 돈 사 담보 토를 그래 해서 그래. 그 토나 토리데 사 담보 토바 디냐래 해서 사 담보도 권인이 제발 미비게 시고요 말이야. 사 담보다 토나니 데페 제발나 미비게 시고요 말. 사치도 그래 대가로 이거 봐지. 사치리야 리마 로고라.
간다
토나 토디 사 담보 토두고 말. 토나 토디 사 담보 토두고 말. 토나 토디 사 담보 토그래 해서.
사 디타나니 디 통람스에 대양 사 담보 토마 토바 데로 디시기요로 하실라.
토나 토마토 비니까 해서 토나 사 담보 토마토바도 마도 니요로. 토나 토니 기지 님바를 강가다 토마토바 마로 하지. 제도 이제 강가다 토마토바도 마로. 사 담보를 제도 이제 강디로. 저 담아 토나로 와.
지상
강규리 세요. 군도 세시 사마
지상 통람 토바데 당
토마토바 오닝에서 토바레스
지사 담보 토마토바
담보 토마토바레스 그때사 담보들라 망보여라 지세 요래 인지 요래 제토 이시 사마 라브라 간요라
Yeah. So when we talk about path of seeing is at the same time with achieving the first ground, right? So when we say is at the same time with achieving the first ground, it refers specifically to the the first moment one achieve the first ground, the first moment or the beginning, the first moment one achieve the first ground. So that is exalted wisdom of meditative equipoise, and that is also the uninterrupted path of seeing. So when we talk about first ground, so on the first ground itself, then there are many things. So it can be wisdom of exalted wisdom of meditative equipoise, and the exalted wisdom of subsequent attainment. And on the first ground, they are bodhicitta and they are compassions as well. So here, when we talk about achieving path of seeing, is at the same time with achieving the first ground. It refers to the beginning part or the first moment of achieving the first ground, when one is in the exalted wisdom of meditative equipoise. 사 담보 있는데
사 담보를 마여려면 사 니발에 토나스 요 말이지 주는
사 담보디
토나스에서 사 담보를 마마도 사 니발에 토나스 주는 요 말이지
사 니발 토남 요
사 니발에 주바바 창사 뭐나 장자랬어
Yeah, so in the second ground there is no more path of seeing, only path of meditations onwards. So second ground onwards, only path of meditation. So there is no path of seeing in second ground onwards.
사주도 가서 노조 제당의 시호들 가서 80절 하자는 시호들에서 80절도 고 사당부는 손에 대사 당부를 준비 80는 손에 대사 주바라 간다 아 이히지 80 받아 사주바 이히지 80 받아 대사 당부를 배또 준비 80 년에 줘 사니발라 수준지 80 년에 줘 사 송바라 지금 수비 파신 양내 제가 그와 사 시바라 지금 저 수비 파신 양내 제가 사가바라 스탠디지 파신 양내 제가 사 주바라 셔러지 파신 양내 제가 사 림바라 탑지 파신 양내 제가 사 제바라 메론지 파신 양내 또 제가 사 고바들라 타도 메론 예시지 파신 양내 또 제가
주바데 이시로 탑데 탑데 시요 마
메론 도지
고바데
도지 파신 양내 제가 다 주바데 예시지 파신 양내 제가我再觉得过，两年计划做了有意思过，做我都是觉得老长期了。
Yeah. Then when we talk about 10 grounds, so 10 in these 10 grounds, they are main objects to be practiced in each grounds. So the main objects to be practiced in each ground is one perfections. So there are 10 perfections. So 10 perfections are on top of the 6 perfections that we already know. Then there are another 4 perfections. So when one is in the first ground, then the main object to practice is the perfections of generosity. Second ground, the main object to practice is the perfections of morality. Third ground, main object to practice is perfections of patience. Then fourth one is perfections of joyous effort, perfections of meditative concentration, perfection of wisdom. So already covered from the first ground up to the 10 grounds already, right? The main object to practice in each ground. And then 7th ground is the perfections of method or skillful means. And 8 grounds, the main object to practice is perfections of prayer. And 9th ground, the main object to practice is perfections of strength. And the last ground, which is 10th ground, is the main object to practice is perfections of exalted wisdom.
먼저 받치면은 능동란이 두 스테디 당 두서 로다. 받치면은 님보때 능동란이 되게 봉자대 줘. 또 신의 간다 상지살이야. 얼마 로당 지어래. 어디? 다디 단다 디세고 요 말에 망부 시시야로 왔다 시켜도. 망부 요로
남줄라면은 대방자 레조라.
봉자래 좀 해들.
조긴.
받치면은 되게 파 님보 땡게. 님보 땡바나 시 들이야 줘놓게 능동란.
Yeah, so regarding these path and grounds, in the future, when we talk about path and grounds, then we will talk about it. We will talk about the objects of abandonment, and we will talk about how to abandon those objects of abandonment. So in each ground, there is a respective objects of abandonment to be abandoned. So it happens in this order. So when the uninterrupted path. So uninterrupted path is the one, is the one that applies antidotes. And path of liberation is the one that liberates from is the one that frees from the object of abandonment.
That is the
one that abandonment. So.
다단다 디제라 가서 디제라 가서 도디를 다 소적 그림 받은 신앙의 제단시 다 뒤뒤시 다 디제서 수 동반이 수를 동반이 수게 많이 같이学사를 와 그 같이学사를 아무 간다 딜라 사무시죠 세우라 사무시죠 간다 수대 랑지 주게 동아래서 대가서 가서 풍봉하는 당부 수지 공부 듣게 시고 다때 된다는 것도 말 시고 와 풍봉한 당부 수랑지 주게 동아래서 수랑지 주변 동안 있어 이 주세대 다 간단 가서 땡땡이 나셔 시시오 와 수랑지 주변 동안에 이 주세 가서는 수대 땡땡이스 땡땡이 주세 될라티네 다랑지 주변 동안에 된다도 비교해 와 다들 지난 가서 땡땡이 나셔 뒤서 뭐 보여요 다 뒤서 주나 와
So there is a brief explanations on how to practice on the path of how to practice on path of accumulations and path of preparations. Then the extensive answer starts from form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is also no other than emptiness, right? So the first and these four statements: form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. This is called the four applications of the four profounds. Applications of the four profounds or four profundities. So the first one, form is emptiness. So form is the first aggregates. The first aggregates out of 5 aggregates, right? The first aggregates. So the form aggregates. So form is emptiness, meaning form is empty of inherent existence. Form is emptiness means form is empty of inherent existence. Why is it empty of inherent existence? The reason that it is empty of inherent existence because it is dependent arising. So this is the reason. So in dependence on these reasons of being dependent arising, then it proves that form is empty of inherent existence, or it establishes that form is empty of inherent existence.
So jidang rashi tende rashi chara dola rashi daboda maso jujila tende tende se di chago juda jina jina tende dis rashi dre dating maso chita wa mada chimo wa de to tuwe de juda dise ya chawa de rangi chashi sa jujila tende to rangi chashi sa dashi tende to wase chashi sa dashi tende to tende dele dis chawa da de juda pen chashi daboda da ganda 오비 파다지 땡데스나 된다 지바레 민자 따여지 땡데스나 된다 디레 지바레 오비 파다지 땡데다 민자 따여지 땡데스나 된다 지바레 그 따데 투모 탄조와 투모 많이 말마다 신다요 말 이 케레게 따데 속에 엔데시 제바다 제레 그런 말 단다 좀 삼으러
So we out of these four profundity applications of four profundities, the first one is form is emptiness, right? And we say form is empty of inherent existence because it is dependent arising. So because of this reason that it is dependent arising, therefore it is empty of inherent existence. So when we talk about dependent arising can be divided into 3 levels in terms of its subtlety. So the first one is the coarse one, and then the second one is intermediate, and the third one is the most subtle one. So the coarse one, is a causal dependency. Yeah, so the coarse level of dependent arising is a causal dependency. So it is a dependent arising on cause and conditions. So this can be realized by lower tenet schools, as well. So on top of this coarse level of dependent arising, this intermediate one is a mutual dependency. Mutual dependencies or parts dependency. So so this one is more subtle than the coarse one already, and the most subtle one, or the subtle one, is what we usually say imputedly existent by mere imputedly existent by mere name, which is label dependency. Label dependency. So what we usually call the imputed existence by mere name, or merely imputed by the conceptual thoughts. So this is the subtle one out of these three levels of dependency. So the label dependency is only asserted by Prasangika Madhyamika.
is my Java Jill Chia, that among us to Tombani Suso was it. That Tombani Suso was it. That day, that so they Kana, damage Ranji to be Tomare, Ranji to be your Mare, that Ranji to be Mebaina, in the Meba Chagres, the Mares, in the Meba Mares, in the Meba Mare, Ranji to be Tombani, Hindo, the tiny to Susu, Tombani Susos. Ranji to be Tombani, Shibingani, the tiny to Suji, your yes, that day, tiny on the Suji, your yes, Ranji to be Tombare, your Mare, Ranji to be your Mares, they made it, your Mares, Tami, Kashi, Susujo, Topale, Ranji to a man never chagres. Never chagres, never chagmar, never much chagmaris, your is Ranji to be me, Himbingani, the tiny down, your yes, company Suso was a Delta.
So regarding dependent arising, I will explain in more depth, in future. So then we come to the second profundity is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Sorry, emptiness is form, and then when one encountered the first profundity, form is emptiness. Then the explanation is form is empty of inherent existence, right? So then one might have a doubt that, if form is empty of inherent existence, does it not exist? Does it not exist? Does it become non-existence? So we might have this doubt, and the answer is no. It doesn't become non-existent at all. So because emptiness is form. So emptiness is form means that while being empty of inherent existence, form exists conventionally, or form exists nominally. So this is the explanation for the second profundity. Emptiness is form.
Tombani Suso was what Delape is Kalekayo, Goa, Nazo Danda is what there is Danda Lavanashi, Tomba Ranji to be Tombari in Ape, Tendomeva Mare, Tombing Alice, Tanid, Yoresna, that city like Katun Reashina, Tombani Suso was what to Tusti, what there is Tusti Wa. Shendape and Jeram Amboyore, Tida, a Tombigi, Tombani Suso. Rangi to be Tombigi in the Susna, the Vijay, Rangi to be Tombigi in the Sures,
in the Sures,
or in Susna, or the Vijay and the Shijawa, Dakanda, or this Susna, or the rest, or the Vijay and the Shijawa. That's not this is Kokar, what is Kokar, Mazo, as you go to Shiba Nashi, this is quite a Dewata, this is also similar Nachi. That don't be in this who's not on the show, but the suit is things are
So regarding this emptiness as form, so it is more difficult to understand. So the explanations on emptiness as form that I mentioned just now is easier to understand, one can easily keep in your mind that while being empty of inherent existence, form exists nominally, or form exists conventionally. So this is how the word commentary, word explanation. So it explains emptiness is form based on the words. So emptiness is while being empty of inherent existence, form exists conventionally or nominally. So there is a more difficult level to understand this emptiness is form as well. So, and the explanation, the more difficult explanations is the sphere of emptiness. The sphere of emptiness is form. So this one is more subtle and then more difficult for us to understand as well.
Su Rangi to be Tombani in Hindo, Tanezan the Susan, Yoba, Tanezan the Susan now. The Nishi Samantha by the day, turned out a liberty. The Keba Mamu and the Hijere. Or did you? This is what they are, saying that is a chat they are. Or Rangi to be Tomba in shipping on it, the Tanezan Susi Yoba. 탄핵상 수수 나와. 딘디시 상 당바이나 그러니까 리부도.
Yeah, so there are teachers they explain in this way as well as what I mentioned just now. So there is explanations or word commentary. So based on the words and then give explanations. So because why I say that the second profundity is more difficult to understand, because emptiness is form. In general, emptiness is not form. In general, emptiness is not form. So to understand the meaning of this and of the second profundity, emptiness is form. Yeah, emptiness is form. Then the explanation is, while being empty of inherent existence, it appears as form conventionally, or it appears as form nominally, or it exists. Form exists nominally. So this is, while being empty of inherent existence, form exists nominally. It appears as form nominally. It appears as form conventionally. So this is, easier to understand. Any training questions asked, is it? Sorry,
Geshila, can I ask you one question?
Yeah,
when you say emptiness is form, you mean that it is empty of object, subject, and action. Geshila.
Emptiness is form. As it, you're asking Gisela, emptiness is form. Does it mean that it is empty of object, subject, and action? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it is. Toma ni suso saya di Gisela. Tuanda de, kasi dia caci lesum di tongba inas, kosum di tongba inas, kosum di tongba ina caci lesum di tongba di tuanda di shigi inas.
딘디게 기저시고 말이죠. 동반이 수소서 자기니 쉬인바. 수제 간다 랑이 집에 동바레서 랑이 집에 동바레 랑이 집에 요 말에 다 랑이 집에 매바이나 그 매바 차그레스나 내 말에 랑이 집에 매 힘도 탄에 정도 수수 요래서 내가 더 잡고 있단다. 딘디 차지레서 그저 딘디
차지레 숨당 코스기 콜라 디시기요 말어.
딘디 기저시고 말아. 그 수 그런 로시르고도.
코스기 콜라 디시기요.
딘디 기저시고 말았어.
Yeah, so emptiness is form here doesn't talk about the three spheres or the subject, objects, and actions. So because here it talks about form and talks about being empty of inherent existence, right? So emptiness is form, meaning the first profundity and the second profundity it links. So form is emptiness means that form is empty of inherent existence, right? So then one might think that, if form is empty of inherent existence, does form become non-existent at all? So does form not exist at all? So that one might have these doubts. Then to answer that questions, then the answer is the second profundity, emptiness is form. So meaning, while form is empty of inherent existence, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist at all. It exists. How does it exist? While being empty of inherent existence, it exists. A form exists nominally. Form exists conventionally. It appears as form conventionally.
Can I clarify one point, please? The uninterrupted path of meditation, while different for the different grounds, path of seeing, the different grounds of the path of meditation. My question is clarification on the meditative equipoise. It's the same all throughout the whole 10 grounds, isn't it? Can I clarify that?
Your question? Yeah.
My question is about the uninterrupted path of meditation. For the different grounds are different. The emptiness factor, the meditative equipoise is the same type, exactly the same for each of the grounds. I want to clarify this point. You got it? The meditative equipoise is the same for the different grounds, while the uninterrupted path is different. Is that my right?
So ini komlam komlam ni dan san ni ba ni de cuba padu roi je la 산이바 내주 바두에 데 공람
뭐가 장전에 산이번 집어 창다 공람 했어.
자만 차상데 공람 라오이시라 아니안 가사연 지바지가 있는 데 냠샤 예시디 냠샤 예시 가사디 동이라 가사 동이라
냠바 샹시
냠바샤베 예시디 지바지가 이바지 아니 바지 멜람데 로가레스 엔디나
그 바치나라 소수도 본자 소수도 만 로가레스 사 당비 산니비 고나 바치멜라 그런 본자 바야 로가 다 산니바 바치멜라 되게 소수도 본자 바야 로가 참마게 님보 로사 로가레스 그 본자들 님보 때우와 소수도 님보 로사 본자들 로가레스
님보 땡켄디안 로아로
님보 땡켄 그런 니바 체추요레 님보 땡사 본자도 체추요레스 체추다 아니
님보다 아니 님보 땡사대양 니바 치중예
이 님보 땡사 본자들라 다 참모다 아파서 제봐요 체보다 중요한 게 있어요 예 님보 땡게 그러나 니바 체추요로 그래서 아마 제봐요 그래서
이니디 가서 동이라 냠샤 예시
돈이라 냠바샤바 집바레스 sama
동이라 냠샤바 집바지가라
님보 이시라 돈이라 냠바샤바 집바레스 집바레데 이나다 니바 체추요레스 그런 로소소라
So regarding the path, the uninterrupted path. So the uninterrupted path is different because on respective path, on respective ground, there is a respective objects of abandonment, right? So, for example, the second ground, there is a respective object of abandonment. So, in terms of the objects of abandonment, then it is different in terms of its subtlety, and in terms of the antidotes itself. The antidotes itself is the exalted wisdom of meditative equipoise on emptiness, and that antidote, as long as it is and in terms of that antidote, there is difference in terms of its strength. So as it go further, then the strength of this exalted wisdom of meditative equipoise grows stronger as well. So, however, the antidote is being the same. The antidote is the same in being the meditative equipoise on emptiness.
Thank you. 다 맞긴 좋아이다. 다 수 동반이 있어서 다 수리 동반이 이제 많이 같이 주자라. 수리 동반이 이제 많이 있어. 다 수리 대장지 동반이 이제 시 많이 봐 마세세 와.
온다 수리.
수리 동반이 수리 많이 넣어다디 봐. 니와. 다 수리 대장지 동반이 시 많이 봐 마세로 왔다. 수리 동반이 많이
대장신.
수리 대장시. 수리 대장시 동반이 시 많이 있어. 담보데. 수리 대장시 동반이 시 많이 있어.
Yeah, it's a different nature. Yeah. So when we come to the third point, emptiness is not other than form. So emptiness is not other than form means that its emptiness of inherent existence is not a different nature from the form. Its emptiness of inherent existence is not a different nature, or is not a different entity from the form. So the meaning for the third point is its emptiness of inherent existence is not a different nature from the form.
다 대지서 수내 동반이래 수지 많이 시바 들어와. 시바데 간다. 다 수지랑지 동반이래 다 간다. 수 무엇인데 못하게 많이 있어. 수지랑지 동반이래 수지랑지 동반이래 들어와. 동반이래 다 무엇인데 못하게 많이 있어. 수지랑지 동반이래 수대 무엇인데 못하게 많이 있어. 들어와. 들어와.
Form is also not other than emptiness. So the meaning for this point, form is not other than emptiness, means that form is not a different nature. Yeah, form is also not a different nature from its emptiness of inherent existence. From its emptiness of inherent existence means that the form's emptiness of inherent existence, or emptiness of inherent existence of form. So I repeat, form is not a different nature from, form is also not a different nature from form's emptiness of inherent existence. So in other words, form is not a distinct nature from, form is also not a distinct nature from form's emptiness of inherent existence.
That kind of dealing with anything or that. Sooner, somebody is with your mind was that dealing with anything. Dealing with any kind of thing. So the Zuna Rangi Tomba Deda, more he, more Tadi Maris. So the Rangi Tombanida. So the Rangi Tombanida, more Tadi Maris, more she Maris. Sukran Rangi Tombarwa. Rangi to Tombarwa. Oh, the Zusona Rangi Tombanida, what is Rangi Tombanida, more Gire, more Tadiba Maris.
So the Rangi Rangshingi Tombani, more Tadi Mari.
So the Rangi to be Tombada, what is the Katubala. So the Rangi to be Tombada, what is so the Sukarangi to be Tombada, what is Rangi to be Tombada, Tadi Maris, what is.
Yeah. So the third point and the fourth point, emptiness is no other than a form. Form is also not other than emptiness. So the third and the fourth points shows the indivisibility of the indivisible nature of two truths. So third and fourth point shows the indivisible nature of two truths. So the third point, emptiness is not other than form, means that form and so these two points shows that form and its emptiness of inherent existence is not of different nature. It's not of different nature. It's not of a distinct nature or distinct entity. So in other words, to say this is form and its emptiness of inherent existence is one nature.
Yeah, that the Yanjama Jelly and the tree that thing also got that matter, but that one Matis into that Pekashi or the answer summary. That Jelly Kanda Mumba suitable somebody the answer, not a Samaki, the answer as a Japan grace. You know that tree, that one Matis in Ramia at Samud.
Yeah. So this is the explanations based on these 4 points for today. And it's very important, and I will revisit these 4 points again and again. So, and however,
Ken, sorry, but I'm trying to interrupt. The last sentence you just said, form and its inherent existence is of one nature. Did you say that?
Form and its emptiness of inherent existence is one nature. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That somebody is suing my day in the sword and the hidden the number of war say that deeper in that the Pumbo Suji Pumbo Nashi, the sword and the hidden the number of some Teranashi. What is your some should keep a chicken to the jar?
Yeah. So form is emptiness, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form is also no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousnesses are empty. So this paragraph is what I want to explain today. So this feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are the same as the form.
That day is also Tambu Suji Pumbola, Samu Jana, that day is soil plantation, the number of Pumushila Majagres, Ludua. That Suji Pumbola Loga, you said, Casna, Suji Pumbola, Andarwa, Pumbo. Shimaji, but new doubles. The new doubles is Lodua, or they can't do what that you are wrong. Dinner and that. Pumala Suji Pumala, swing there, the new doubles is Pumoshimaji. That Shepaso, Della Timmy, shoot out. That Suji Pumbo, the new double. Should the new Latin or new Latin or get out the rest. That's all new double, Kachembo Sonza, the Tambo Sudalama. Samu the Janet, the Jelma, Compositional Factor.
So in the commentary, it says Thus, having explicitly applied the 4 modes of emptiness to the form aggregates. So 4 modes of emptiness or applications of 4 profundities is the same. So 4 modes of emptiness is the same as applications of 4 profundities. So 4 modes of emptiness to the form aggregates, the purpose of merely saying in the same way, feeling, etc., with respect to the other 4 aggregates is that from among the 5 aggregates, form is like a basis or vessel, whereas the later 4 aggregates are primarily consciousness and are like the water that is supported in that vessel. So the form aggregates is important because the form aggregate is the support, and the rest of the aggregates are the supported.
대가서 또라와라 내가고 해서 근데 수랑지 집에 또 차이 제라 내 현다 솔라 대가 나시베 담보수 랑지 집에 또 와라 깔레 제바 나시 현달 들이 깔레 제고 말해서 내가고 해서.
So hence, just as when the supporting vessel is destroyed, the supported water is also destroyed. So when the form aggregate is understood to be empty, it is easy to understand that the consciousness aggregates that are supported by that are also empty. So meaning when one first realizes the form aggregates is empty of inherent existence, after one realizes that, then one is easier to realize the emptiness of inherent existence of the 4 aggregates. The rest of the aggregates, then one is easier to understand they are being empty of inherent existence. So you don't have to spend the same efforts as you do as you first realizes the emptiness of inherent existence of form.
간다 수동바 담보에 수라 잡고에 계세데 수수 지원은 집 간다 수라 차된 거의 타동아 대인고 치다 맞아 때 수수 지원 감각에 맞아 때 차동 모습 지야做的 가서 수들아 차되고 그러와 뭐니 집에 차동 모습 배하는 뭐니 다 제일 쉬고와 배 수들아 때 차동 모습 지고요 대체 어디 다 수수 지원은 수라 차된 거의 타동아
So in brief, in order to put an end to common beings or ordinary beings becoming attached to form and falling to the extreme of samsara, it teaches that form is emptiness. Because our 3 poisons, attachment, anger, and ignorance, arises or it increases mainly in relation to form. Therefore, form is emptiness was first taught in order to prevent one from falling into the extreme of samsara.
예비트리나 랑 도모지 남도 다 미메 바진 로이나 다 이나 간다 세만도스나 고 간다 나룰라 사기 내가 여러와 나룰라 배양 레스나 야 세마에서 수 누야기 사벽이 내가 여러와 다 데니가라 마사기 우미나 지만도 도바치 다 동반이 수소 동바오세 그래서 간다 지만은 로트야기 딕체들이 쓰고로 조로거든 타리스 말로마지 다 우미나 이바데 우미나 서는 동반이 전제로 간다 신의 마시는
Yep. So and in order to put an end to some becoming attached to emptiness. So in order to stop some from becoming attached to emptiness and falling to the extremes of peace, it teaches that emptiness is form. So the second point, so emptiness is form, is to stop some from becoming attached to emptiness and falling to the extremes of peace. So extremes of peace and extremes of samsara, these are the 2 extremes. So For example, if a blind person were to go down a narrow path that had thorns on the left and a cliff on the right, and if a sighted person were to say there are thorns, then there is a danger of the person falling off the cliff. If you were to say there is a cliff, then there is a danger of his falling into the thorns. So in order that he not fall to either extreme, a middle path is taught. So a middle path, mainly is the meaning of emptiness. So middle path is mainly about the meaning of emptiness. And in order not to fall into the two extremes, so the extremes of samsara and the extremes of peace. So a middle path or meaning of emptiness is taught.
Zimba resta kanda ngene se mari is dilma pe de shi wa pe de kanda suji phumbo so de wi gomba dan dawa inde kanda zonji jeme se ba no shi rese wa suji phumbo de ma zu chugi boa gomba dan dawa re la pi gi sumba ina tu de shina ko meba chano gore ngene se ma yo mari sko wa de gomba de tembo yo mari ko lanza meba chano sko kanda ngene se ki jepa chine ndu mo dawa ina du sin joba ina never challenge.
Sugi pombo de jeba chena ni de yoma.
Chu pombo suji pombo na wana shi yoma reso da kana. Na wana shi yoma reso.
Yeah. So and these 5 aggregates there is an example metaphors. So these 5 aggregates, and there is a metaphor given to describe these 5 aggregates. So these 5 aggregates, they do not actually exist. They do not exist as it appears. They do not exist as it appears. So what they appear as is false. So what their appearance is false. It's a false appearance. It is false. Sorry, it's false. So this form aggregates is likened to a mass of form. So like bubble, a lump or a mass of form. So if you use your hand to touch or to hold the form, then it disappears, right? So similarly, these form aggregates cannot withstand analysis.
That's what so you pombo so the chu dan dawa reso wa.
Sugi pombo ne di ta di chewa na. Di kaza di
rangi tu de rangi tu ba zawani ne yo maris ko na wana shi rangi tu ba nang go ri na wana shi zawani ne yo maris de na shi ko reso wa.
Yeah. So form aggregates appears as inherently existence, right? So form appears inherently. So however, it doesn't exist inherently. So if you analyze the form, the inherent existence, the form being inherent existence, then form aggregates cannot withstand the analysis, meaning it is not, you will realize that it is empty of inherent existence. It is not inherent existence as it appears.
But did not go there with learning as a suji pombo the pombo so that the mat sobala pombo is the word. Yana the mat sobala. 당아서 카드다디 미기 수지 풍고토나 카드다디 라사코르 도도치 원에 코랑 원에 두바다 오지마도 다 얘나 라바 강바 차시 강가 준디네 풍고 도도치 차바데 나와 칠레 두고 말은 가서 나사 칠레 다 든디레 마토서다 때문에 풍고서데 도도 카드 통어디 원에 이더서다 가리는 참마지 통어디 때 양보 상호시다네 어 든디 차다 얘나 강바 라바 현우기 차 강가 츠 뒤네 에레도 되게 참아도 매바이나 뭐에 좀 문도 왔어 뭐지 고 데모 라바 어디래 로아 다 되는 어시래 간다 우와 저반다시 왔
Yeah. So these form aggregates. So when we say aggregates, so aggregates is a collections of many parts, collections of several parts of various parts or various limbs. So like this this body. So when we first look at the body, then we see it as exists independently, exists by itself. So and we do not immediately see that this body actually is a composite of many different parts like hands, legs, and etc. We do not see that way. We immediately see that the body is a body by itself. We do not see that it depends on. We do not see that it depends on parts and limbs and etc. So when we examine that, when we later, then when we think about form actually is composite of these different parts and limbs and etc. Then only then we realize that form do not exist as it appears, as it first appeared to you.
다 소위 보면서 가서 취 주부단다와 해서와 다 취 주부서와데 끼지끼지 랑사 분지로 그래서와 끼지끼지 랑사 지로 그래서 다 간다 그 된다 건가들랑 이지 모두발 단자 상황판이 시고래 그와 끼지끼지를 때 랑사 내가 참 그러면 떼복해요 말해서 거라 간다 네가 말 떼복에서 요 말해서 거라 랑사 끼지 취 주부 대가라 오네 내가 와서 무슨 미 좋아요 좋아.
So other than those, other than the collections of limbs and parts, then there is no form exists as it appears to you, right? Yeah. So then we come to the second aggregates, feeling aggregates. So feeling aggregates is likened to a water bubble. So it doesn't last long and is not stable.
단데 시지 풍부서는 민주당자와래서와 다 민주당자와데 세비 공부하게 노안지 말해서 간다. 하자 카본게 저기 미주르베 돈나다베 공부세 치르베 당원에 통고나 돈야게 요 말와 어디 노안지만 하시 땡기게 스탄디시 민주나시에서 이게 공부.
And the third aggregate is discrimination aggregate, and discrimination aggregate is likened to mirage, and it's like the water, the mirage of water mirage misapprehended by a person who is very thirsty. So he apprehends the mirage as water and then try to drink the water, but there is no such water to drink.
단 디시지 그보다 가서 지신기 동부단다와 해서와 지신기 동부단다와 다 신은 누구요 말해서 다 대가로래 로와 간다 지신대배 일단 나노 동바 동자하고 원님보게요 말해서 단 디시지 그보 지신단다와.
And next one is compositional factor aggregates, and this one is likened to a banana tree or a plantain tree. Then, when the tree is destroyed, that there is no essence. So because inside is, there is no essence in the banana tree. It's likened to this.
단 넘버시번 부모는 밀란다 다와리에서 간다와 밀란나 배 트위나 유든지 인주바이면 장나 마두바세 다 밀란나랑 배 소소 응원에 전에 배다 노부지 라산 배 쉬부지 잘라 배나 가리나 배 소소게 자 전부 쉬부지 라스데 당연히 왜 내스라 다오디 니세나 요 말에서 간다 그와 뇌니스 요 말에서 거와 근데
yeah. And the last one is consciousness. Consciousness aggregate is likened to dream. And yeah, so just like dream, we found some jewels and treasure box in our dream. And when we wake up, then it doesn't exist. So it's just like that.
다들 가서 근데 부모가데 개천부 차고 지당 가서 너희 최 강가데 부모가나 뒤로 보냈어. 너희 최가 로와 너희 최 강가 부모가 뒤로 보냈어. 최 당제 부모가 뒤로인데 뒤고요 말해. 최 당제의 감조지는 뒤로 와. 최 당제의 감조지는 뒤로 보내. 너희 최 강가데 부모가 뒤로 보냈어.
It's very important to understand five aggregates because all compounded phenomena are condensed or summarized, are condensed in these five aggregates. All compounded phenomena are grouped in these five aggregates. So not all phenomena are grouped in five aggregates. Yeah, because all phenomena are grouped in 18 elements. So these five aggregates do not cover all phenomena. It only covers the all compounded phenomena only. So all phenomena are grouped in 18 elements.
아까보다 이 수 강가된 가서 수지 공부를 되는 거래. 수 세와들 가서 수, 자, 지, 조, 제자 성아요 봐. 수다 파요도 와. 수지 자, 지, 조, 제자 성아요 봐. 대강가된 가서 수지 공부를 되는 거지. 와, 수지 공부는.
And all forms are grouped in form aggregates. So form, sound, smell, taste, object of touch. These 5 are grouped in form aggregate.
다 소화 강가다 강다 소위 풍부는 되는 소화 강가 소화 강가 소위 풍부는 되는 거예요. 그래서
And all types of feelings are grouped in feeling aggregates.
다 니시 강가는 니시 풍부는 되는 거죠. 니시 강가다. 다 소화는 가서 니도 요로와 니도 땅에 손리고 요로와 소화되라. 다 니시들까지 지셔서 근데 레바다 근데 말레바다 근데 까보다 근데 나보지 되는 니시 타닉이 니시 나서 땅기들 요로와
탄익이
타니 나서 동기 시바지라.
도킹이 시바지.
어디 다 생주를 간다 생주지래.
Yeah. So, and next one is discrimination aggregates. So So before I talk about the discrimination aggregates, feeling aggregates as what we studied before. So feeling, all types of feelings that includes the pleasant one, the unpleasant one, and the neutral one. So all these are grouped in feeling aggregates. Next one is discrimination aggregates. So discrimination aggregates is the consciousness that differentiates good, bad, white, black, and the consciousness that imputes names, various names. So such is a mental factor.
somebody 니시 니시 공부 시가 들어와. 단 니시 공부 세워야 공부 실이 시험을 줘 그래. 공부 시 많이 기지 그래. 니시 공부 세워야. 단 니시 공부 세워야 간다. 공부 실이 시험. 수치 뭐 소위 공부. 니시 분나시 공부를 시험하지. 때래 가지고 저 자원은 니시 공부 실이 시험 싸워 거나 도시 열을 좋아. 저 자원은 내자원은 풍부 실리 시험받더라. 저는 디지 풍부. 풍부 실리 시험이 되시더라. 디지 보세요. 되지.
Yeah. So discrimination is one of the mental factors. So then we move on to compositional factor. So compositional factor is the compounded phenomena that is other than the 4 aggregates. So the 4 aggregates are form aggregates, feeling aggregates, discrimination aggregates, and consciousness aggregates. So any compounded phenomena that is other than these 4 aggregates are grouped in compositional factor aggregates.
단 디지 공부하는 가서 소화다 디시 뭐이 세주 같이 여바이나 창선 디지 공부는 되는
거다 두
소화다 세주 소화다 디시
소화단 두시
소화다 디시 대니의 시험비 다 세주 같이 가서 나지 세주 같이 영업에 같이 세주 망보지 치대 이봐 어배 망보지와 어따 두 참아배 소화다 디시 뭐이 세주 같이 여바이나 창선 디지 공부는 되는
가와라 두기 오래 본다.
디지 공부 시반 디지 공부.
시바 두지기 공부라 두기.
공부를 되고. 다 소화다 디시니 디지 공부 말해.
소화단 두시.
소화다 디시니 소화단 디시지 공부 소위 공부단 디시지 공부 되니까 생기로 와. 다 소화단 디시니를 시비 다 생주 뺑아중 아지다 미게 너무 받아 때 뭐고 개와다 뭐고 시우요 와. 사만단 디시지 공부는 되는 그래서
시바 두지기 공부라
시바 디시지 공부는 소화단 디시 많이 생주 간가. 다 소화가 되시 또 누구 말아. 예, 디지 말해라.
Yeah. So mental factors. So we studied mental factors before, right? 51 mental factors, and there are afflictive ones and there are virtuous ones. So mental factors that is other than the feeling and the discriminations are the aggregates of compositional factors. So mental factors that is not feeling and that is not discrimination are compositional factor aggregates.
다 시반 디지 공부자 디자 체슈나 보더래. 디지 공부들랑 가서 디지들라 근데 디지들 손대 많이 빈 디지스 니레고 나지. 充电进这些的充电满一本这些是你来过是，是吧？
充电满，
充电进这些的充电满一本这些你，
前吧，
你，充饱电吧，谁的充电可以进这些其他，谁的充电可以进这些其他，但谁的充电满一本这些你要也是过是，是吧？
先充電塔，你哋先充電埋俾讀寫咯。
現在這些，現在充電機，這些機當，現在充電滿俾這些機你嚟過的是這些就不得啦。
先當充電埋俾讀寫咯。
現在充電機這些，但現在充電機這些在一啲牆上咧。所的那些你满意的，但是就我了是你摸摸就啊，就是长嘛，现在充电性这些的哇，现在充电性这些的，最长嘛的充电性这些的，现在充电性这些，他的现在充电这些的，当然这些是通过的你有的话，现在充电性这些的，现在充电满意的这些你
，yeah. And this fourth aggregate, which is the aggregates of compositional factors, is the widest or is the most extensive ones because it contains compounded phenomena that is concomitant with mind. Yeah, that is concomitant with mind. So, because we also studied this term before. So, compounded phenomena that is concomitant with mind, and compounded phenomena that is other than compounded phenomena that is not concomitant with mind. So, as I mentioned just now, mental factors that are not feeling and they are not discriminations are grouped in the aggregates of compositional factors, right? Like the 51 mental factors that we studied before. So, as long as it is not a mental factor of feeling and the mental factors, there is not discriminations as well. Then, as long as it is not a mental factor that is a feeling or a discrimination, then it is grouped in the aggregates of compositional factors. So then we talk about the compositional factors is divided into two: the compounded phenomena that is concomitant with mind, and compounded phenomena that is not concomitant with mind, right? So the mental factors that is not feeling and there is not discriminations, then those mental factors are grouped in compounded phenomena that is concomitant with mind.
他现在充电性那些基本那些是碰不得了，他充电那些是碰不得，充电满一本那些碰不你是吸引吧？他充电性那些碰不是话的，他讲的看到现在充电是生存看到那些是碰不得所以碰不得那些是碰不你满一本生存尴尬的充电那些是碰不是吧？那些是碰不得去。
Compounded phenomenon. Compounded phenomenon. Compositional factor. Sorry. Yeah. So it's not a compounded phenomena. I used the word wrongly. So compositional factors can be divided into two: compositional factors that is concomitant with mind, and compositional factor that is not concordant with mind. So compositional factors is divided into two: compositional factor that is concomitant with mind, and compositional factor that is not concomitant with mind. So all mental factors that is not feeling and discrimination are the compositional factor that is concomitant with mind.
他充电满一本这些是碰不得下过了的，他充电满一本这些碰不得大忙不要的呀，我不没大吧，大帮了，刚才强调是强调呗，充电满一本这些，他就说大帮了，让我就是忙不要的话，我刚才就说他没大吧，就是我不等下你把在墙上充电满一本这些是碰不得的，他就是咱们刚才习惯这些是碰不了你多啊，这是他们的充电满一本这些碰不是，他就是现在充电是给这些用的。
That's right. Yeah. So then the second type of compositional factor is compositional factor that is not concomitant with mind, right? So then the example for this is functioning thing. functioning thing or thing, or that which is capable of functions, and impermanence, horse, cow, person. So those are included in, those are grouped in the compositional factors that is not concomitant with mind.
当然说是吧你这是通过是点地的加起来是吧这个毛毛属于地的但这个哪些个从点这些的从点嘛一点这些是你那个哇但你等于单单这些学菜有吧我希望这些是通过的了当然把哪些是通过的当然的哪些我是中国都没有知道是吧哪些的你能记录是吧
Yeah, so fourth aggregates, the aggregates of compositional factors is quite wide, and it includes a lot of things under these fourth aggregates. And the last one is consciousness aggregates. So consciousness aggregates is easy. So the 6 consciousnesses.
当然说通过我的都是老大姐，但就是我说讲的给清晰的讲的数据通过的差的个，数据通过的开始就学人吧，我说通过我的老大姐学人吧，行里的。当部数据通过，你把所有部那些部那些number些通过啊，都是人把这个下当的我说快了，就是接下来过来这个大就用我的这个，你把它好过把这个，但是的别相当的路多啊，我看到所以就数了差点快的，也做我去了当部数据通过的，给些写过来是所有的东西这个东西的写过来就这点来是，我当所以就我从快做的数据通过了让它差点的。那时候弄多片，差不多看看。
Yeah, so all of these 5 aggregates, form aggregates is the most important one. So in relation to what I explained before regarding how one circle in samsara, how one circle in samsara in relation to these 5 aggregates. So we explained how one flow from the previous aggregates to later aggregates and results in rebirth in samsara, right? So the most important one is the form aggregates, because form aggregates, as it mentions in the commentary, that to put an end to common beings becoming attached to form and falling into the extreme of samsara, etc. So this form is the one that causes our attachment to arise, to increase, and also causes our conceptual thoughts to arise and to increase as well. So therefore, out of these 5 aggregates, form aggregates is the most important one.
要他们按照数据公布说的，没些数据给数对了，什么办的是吧？没些数据给数对了，按说一的卡多你有了，一的卡多，一所带起来，一是所带的话，那卡多有了，卡多他公布了，哦，真的，一的卡多你了，但你的你这不的，门这把难说用过了吧？对，一的卡多你等你数对了明年，对，你这把的门这把难说同年是吧？难说同年，对了，看到，说难说机会是看到是吧？数等你这把的门这把等你难说同了第年，再看到说，要不然这都难说机会是，俺们讲是人夸当人把人的是吧？我当部数据公布，每些数据给数对了，应当啊，这个数据公布俺有啊，我当部每些数据给数据公布，一的卡多做了，但呢，忙起来的了，俺是说是叫差不多些写的了，对，一的卡多了的呢，你这不的，门这不用啊的呢，这错啊，地定这么来机会，错啊，地定这么来机会，你把错的话，所以公布的。
Yeah, so even though when we talk about forms, and there are five types of forms, right? So form, sound, etc. So to talk about the first type, the form itself is the form that is apprehended by eye consciousness. So, and this form is divided into 2. One is the shape, another one is color. So by seeing various types of forms, so the shapes and colors, then different types of feeling arises. So by seeing different kinds of form, which is shape and color, then different types of feeling arises. So I said there are many different types of shapes and colors, right? Some are pleasant and some are not pleasant.
这个是从小就能论了，还不多。对，说的你节目节，这个是有啊。说的你节目节，说的全部的情况，对，说的样么呀？说的样么呀？对，一起做上去的。对，卡多说的，他讲的是卡多，说本能当中嘛都有了哇。 오 딘디 띠네 때 간다 지구로 간다 소아 자세히 지우고 와. 오 딘디 띠네 제발 띠네 때 소아 되도 되고 간다 와.
Yeah, and this form, like the shape and color, is the basis where ordinary beings attach to. Is the basis is the basis ordinary beings attachment arises or attached to. So, like for example, it's very easy to understand is that when we go to a shopping mall, then we see different kinds of shapes. So some are big, some are small, and some are in a good shape, some are in a bad shape. And then colors are similarly, colors also, some are beautiful colors, some are not beautiful colors.
오데 다 대통령의 순제 문제 더 통화 될라티네 다 소위 공부어세 소화 디둔담라지 소니 맞지고 다 소화 디둔담라 될라티네 다 니히나서 데 소화 대화치와데 디리에서 나 민도레 동아치야데 누구소스다시 왜 동아치야데 누구소스 대화치야데 누구소바레스 디리에서 원 니히나서 시고 니히나서 민도웨 와 다데 공부 숨박 차스와 소위 니히부
So in relation to different shapes and different colors, then one has different feelings arises. So the pleasant feelings and the unpleasant feelings arises. So after the arising of the feeling, then there comes a discrimination. So discriminations is to labels, give different labels on to things, like for example, this is the one that makes me suffer, this is the one that makes me happy. So in relation in dependence on discrimination, then different types of karma accumulated. Different types of karma is accumulated, and these accumulations of different types of karma is the fourth aggregates, the aggregates of compositional factor. And due to the accumulations of karma, and the imprints of karma is left on the consciousness, and that consciousness referred to the fifth aggregate. And in dependence on the imprints left on the consciousness, then if it is a good imprint, then it leads us to the good rebirth, and it leads us to a good rebirth. And if it is a bad imprint, then it leads us to the miserable rebirth. So this is how these five aggregates flow from one to another, and then it results in cyclic existence, rebirth in cyclic existence. And these five aggregates is not to be ignored or neglected, because it is a very significant point of practice. It is a significant point for us to practice with.
我的起码你吧，其中不是不就呢？空中的错东啊，休息结果吧。我所以我到几百几家的当说，你参谋了家的，空波啊，做了空波啊，修有啊。
错地都得那个咯。
我错地都来了。
或者错东西的那个咯，记住没？
其中那错地来了啊。我的来了啊。我的那个，他看到那的看到数据不，他现在说没写起数据，基本数了下一吧，一旦看到了。他等到的那些就年下去了。我数据数量了是哪有的话，他看到。
Yeah. So besides the form that I mentioned just now, the form that is apprehended by eye consciousness. So there are other types of form, right? So the second one is sound. So sound is the object, object heard by the ear consciousness. So these sounds also is the same. So it depends on the pleasant and unpleasant sound, then different types of feeling arises. So for example, if you hear someone singing and he sings a very nice, her singing is very nice, then it generates, then one's feel happy, right? The pleasant or the happy feeling arises. And if one were to hear, the harsh words or rude words, etc., then the unpleasant feeling arises.
Oh, that near money to it, so did you jibber. That's what did you jibber dinner, then the hin answer that jibberda, the hin answer. Then the hin answer, then the answer started. Then lady in Nasha, that was jibber not it.
So similarly, in dependence on the pleasant and unpleasant sound, different types of feelings arises, and in dependence on the arisings of feeling, then discriminations gives names or differentiates. Then in dependence on that, one accumulates karma, and in dependence on the accumulations of karma, its imprint is left on the consciousness, then it results rebirth in samsara.
That Tilla Chiparida, Sagana Kindoba in a pay, Kala Yabutina, Soa Dewaji, Kala Yabuti Masana, Lanza Kudoran and Soa, Dungaji. Then when it's a Damaso Hesa, Pumbanga, Suji Pumbanga, Tata Nodua, then when it's that, Masucho Lesa, didn't look what I did.
Yeah, so similarly, in relation to smell, so smell forms taste. Yeah, for example, taste. So when we go to a restaurant, then if the restaurant cooks the food nicely, then when we eat the delicious food, then we generate the happy feeling is generated, right? So if the chef or the cook doesn't prepare the food nicely, then when you taste the food, then it's bad, then you get angry, and then unpleasant feeling arises, right?
That Jatan Chibares and also Su, Ja, Ji, Ro, Reja, just Hamala also Nuana, that's what they do. That's what they do. Teva in the Shinazota. Tanga to Susa when is another Tanda Sonatombaina. So Suji Pumbo de Zula, attending us Lesa Gorda. The Kati just a so direct. Suji Pumbanga, you are that. Pumbanga, she will Suji Pumbano, Kanda Mihiji Duja, Ja, Ji, Ro, Reja. Zushi Judge Roshi, you are soon on Pumbanga, were a soon on Okora. What that less that so the ding out in it, you were done as Suchi. When is the charge at the day?
Yeah, so in relation to the experience of 5 types of form, then different types of feeling arises, then discrimination, then compositional factors, in other words, accumulations of karma and its imprint left on the consciousness, and it results rebirth in samsara. So these 5 types of form, these form aggregates, and under the category of form, then there are 5 types of form, right? Form, sound, smell, taste, etc. Then in relation to this, then ordinary beings generate because yeah, so ordinary beings accumulate karma mainly in relation to these 5 types of form.
That is shy. Chidan Dicola answer, Tonatic should be move, but I need Pumbo about Dilla answer, and the Panishana Karjan Shawers and need to what any tongue in that. Something immediately kitchen that. The chance not to watch each other. The Nani get Chamber Shower. Nazo Katu Sushi Pumbo Nas and I do say, Lava Santa Marda, then when Nani is she said that. What the Pumbanga would delete in answer, what a jagilesa, Tata Legudo.
Yeah. So this is where we should pay our attention to as well, because these 5 aggregates is not just for merely for explanations. It is a basis for us to practice with, and because these 5 aggregates, in relation to these 5 aggregates, one accumulates karma and circle in samsara, right? So how these 5 aggregates, how samsara is created in relation to these 5 aggregates is very important. We have to understand how it flows from the previous aggregates to the later aggregates, and eventually causes a rebirth in samsara. So it's very important to understand and keep in our mind, to understand it. And I will ask you, I will spot check, and then I will just ask you anytime I want, and I will just, I may just ask a point you out and give me the answer.
Yeah, thank you. That is Shaggy.
Yeah, so stop here.
That is a little. Tanga to Gates, I wanted to chip them by the audio. Such a much of choice with change our social color, see you on Temple to use the pussy, the body show the Jabbat. Anjana Kadi Lava to a judge of Savor and watch it. Timber and Rita, the pussy in the Temple and Sabbath show the Jabbat. That and the mounted and the others about it up and you do he mounted and the Japan, Sinjit and Desin at Sequa, comments at the department and Sanji Company to her. Yeah, Yabananta, that is someone of the Robotini, make sure that member that being to the Robotini Kamina, Koran, Samabe, Serini, Digi, Pisu by the Sol, that Chamber, Sanji Company, the part at the diction of where he's a lot. That's only the Pashi.
Yeah, so we conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated, especially through these Dhamma discussions, maybe a complete course of Buddha Dhamma to flourish to all 10 directions and for sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, represented by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May His Holiness live eons long, excellent health, and may His Holiness enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread to all 10 directions. In particular, we also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabje Lama Sopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche's live eons long, excellent health, and may Rinpoche's enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread to all 10 directions. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevails the world. We also dedicate these roots of virtue for the pandemic, wars, conflicts, disaster, natural disaster to be ceased immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who suffer and those who pass away, especially those who pass away in wars, conflict, and pandemic and disasters. So may their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately, and may they achieve the state of enlightenment as soon as possible. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, for example, those who help others financially. And may they live long, good health, accumulate extensive merits, and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment.
Dabe Junior, Zabe, Gavane, and Androa, Kula, Gamben, Jeba, Junior, Dosan Java, Yitimbe, Niborin, Dose, Jesho, Janju, Senjo, Rimbo, Jema, Kepana, Kikuji, Keban, Yamba, Mebayan, Kone, Kondo, Beva, Sho, Beva, Jita, Kembana, Kundo, Sambo, and the Jinde, Kundi, Jesu, Dalo, Jekeva, the Sanjera, Tawa, Repo, Jema, Kepana, Kikuji, Keban, Yamba, Mebayan, Kone, Kondo, Beva, Sho, Tawa, Repo, Jema, Kepana, Kikuji, Keban, Yamba, Mebayan, Kone, Kondo, Beva, Sho, Japan, Japan, Sinjong, Beve, Kunso, Dobose, Chusun, Kue, Lemon, Tuba, Taso, Jekendo, Jade, Sho, Dongin, Jesu, Jubelan, Chises, Kanchin, Dragon.
Tenzin Gazo La Sua de So Sudere Rojo, the Kade Bene Badeva, Kale Jome Sabe, no Kade Sume Tenzin Gazo La Sua de So to Share Rojo, Kade Rawe Korishikan, the Pendan de Wamadu Jumene,
Serious
Tenzin Gazo, Shabe Side Batu Dengu.